Alrighty, so this is a review of lecture test 2. One thing I missed, not keeping a running, I still use Excel in the very end, but I don't enter grades manually anymore, one test at a time. So I can't say, because I didn't have the boxes checked and so on and so forth, to say, overall, you guys did a lot better on this test, or overall, it's a little lower this time. I like to, know how the class, leans, if they shift one way or the other. You, of course, know your personal, whether you did better than the first test or not. We are 2 tests in out of 5, plus 2 practicals that are worth the same. So I don't want to say, don't worry, there's still a lot of points ahead, because if your grades aren't where you want them to be, you always want to have a little bit of concern. But, for example, if you didn't do so swell on this one and you totally do awesome on the mineral test that's coming up, those 2 will offset each other because they're worth the same amount of points. Okay? Or vice versa. If you did great on this one after, mediocre first test, but then you bomb the mineral test, the same situation applies, but the opposite. So I just want to comfort you and not scare you exactly, but keep you on task here that, you do have time to repair things. But if after the mineral test you get, 3 tests into this class and things still aren't going the right way, if you haven't talked to me yet about, what you could do differently, it'll certainly be appropriate at that point. Okay? If not even, after the first test, but that's long gone. So, ideally, we see test grades go up for the second test. It's not exactly, the first test did have a lot of review material in it, but there's that always learning how a teacher, writes their tests and so on and so forth. So you have that kind of a nick on it there. But, with this test, potentially it had newer content for a lot of you guys, but you knew stylistically what to expect, or you studied more maybe because the first test didn't go so swell, whatever reason. We usually see a little uptick for test number 2. So hopefully your scores, your personal scores reflected that. This is, as I said several times, just a reminder though, the only time you will have to write definitions. And I did warn you several times going into this that there would be a couple short answer questions. Some of you forgot or something, because I did have to hand grade those, as you saw in the announcements. Some of you were fine. Some of you were nowhere near fine on those too. Oh, and speaking of which, I'm not accusing anyone of cheating, but if you're going to cheat, at least take the cheating off of the handouts that I give you guys and don't Google shit, okay? Like the definition of a mineral, I could totally tell when that's not the one, and I do say as discussed in class in the question, but I some of the words that you guys use and so on and so forth obviously didn't come, and I'm talking to the online folks as well, not just the 20 of you sitting in front of me. That came straight off of somewhere, be it ChatGTS or whatever the hell it is, or the Google or Ask Jeeves, whatever. So if you're going to cheat, at least cheat smartly. And at any rate, don't cheat. Cheating's bad. All right. Test review, as promised. All right, you guys. So, substance composed of one or more elements is called what? Big enough to read out there? Yeah, it's pretty big. Good. So tell me the answer. One or more elements. Is it an atom? No. Is it a compound? Maybe. Is it a mineral? Yes. Is it an element? No. All right, so this is actually not exactly a trick question, but I think you see two versions of this question on here. Because it says one or more elements, that eliminates it from being a compound, right? Okay. There is a very similar question that says a substance composed of two or more elements. That is a compound. And as you know, at this point, many minerals, most minerals perhaps, are compounds. But putting that one or more elements in is, that's leaning to the minerals thing. And bless your hearts, the handful of you that did regurgitate that for the definition of a mineral. I appreciate you not going to Google or not going to the handouts when you didn't know the answer. But I did say several times that please don't use that for the definition of a mineral. So I did have to mark that wrong when you guys wrote a substance composed of one or more elements. All right, so I do appreciate you at least guessing. All right, most commonly occurring element in the crust of the Earth. Oxygen. All right, we got any other suggestions there? Everyone like oxygen? Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I'm open to suggestion. You just have to prove it. I guess so. Oxygen is our friend. Second most commonly, silicon. All right, now if you missed these, again, because it really doesn't sort of logically seem right that oxygen, most common thing in the crust. All right, you're like, it's a gas, it's in the atmosphere. And even in the atmosphere, it's not the most common thing. So you're like, what's going on with that? Remember, oxidation, it bonds to all kinds of things. But in the end of it, if you remember the formula for the silicate oxygen tetrahedron, SiO4. There's 4 times as many oxygen right there as there is silicate. Okay, and the only way you could get that with silicates being as everywhere as they are, okay, is if you had way more oxygen than silicate. So if for some reason you still don't remember, we have a comprehensive final. That's why we take your time to review this stuff. That's why I'm going over it like this, okay? You don't want to miss those questions again. Okay, we just sort of answered this one. Most commonly occurring mineral group. Beautiful. For everyone at home, they wanted to say silicates. And the crystal shape associated with this mineral group, I just said it a moment ago. Tetrahedron, yeah. Silicon, oxygen, triangle. Doesn't sound quite right, right? Silicon, oxygen, cube, or sphere. That'd be funky. But it is tetrahedron. Imagine briefly if everything in Minecraft were made out of spheres instead of squares. It'd kind of be the same effect, I think. All right, we just told you the answer to this one. It's how many silicons, how many oxygens? What's the formula? Just tell me the formula. SiO4. Beautiful. Beautiful. If half a point did anything, we don't really deal in half points. If you somehow mixed those up and had Si4O or something like that, I could understand, mixing those two up. But half a point doesn't really do anything, unfortunately. We only deal in full points. All right. Okay, then we're shifting gears dramatically here. Compound CO3. You guys are getting ready for the mineral test. This should be in your brain. Yeah, this is the carbonates, of which you have one example of called what? Somebody else. For a brownie. I don't have a brownie, but imagine you'd get a brownie. What's your one and only example in the carbonate group? Calcite. Good job. Here's that brownie. All right. I should it's getting Halloween time. I could bring those little mini candy bars in and bribe you guys with that for talking in class. Contains the element S. What is the element S? Sulfur. Good. So what group has the sulfur in it? Sulfurs. Yeah. But not sulfur, because sulfur is a And elemental, yeah. See, we're reviewing two tests in one. Single element. Elementals. Has oxygen added to the formula. Oxides. Some of these are no-brainers, folks. Hopefully you got through them okay. Almost done. I couldn't say which mineral group has elements from the halide group in it. Would have been a little too obvious. So I had to say fluorine. Oh, no, I didn't say fluorine and halide. I said what group is fluorite and halite in? And that would be the halides. Yeah. Okay, these two, I used to have a whole set of these. So it would have been 4 questions because I cycle through all of the answers. I call that a question set. For some reason, they did not make the transition over to D2L. So I added 2 of the questions. I think that brought us up to 50 points. I was a little shy, so I started looking, to see what was missing. What didn't I ask you guys? So 2 out of the 4 of these silicate structures questions showed up. So I tried to pick an easy one. The micas were what? Sheet silicates. Good, yeah, because they are sheet-like. And then I picked one kind of maybe hard one. Quartzites and quartzes and feldspars, or what type of silicate structure? Yeah, they were frameworks. Did you guys do like a data dump already on your brains? Goodness. I understand garbage in, garbage out, but remember, in here there is that final. So, all right, I wish I could make this question more like matching. And a handful of you, I don't want to say totally mangled this, but totally mangled this. The problem with these kinds of things is if you start one space off, arguably, everything could be wrong by 1 notch, but it would still be a 0 out of 7 or whatever it is. So that's why I put some placeholders in. I put the rock names. It's hard to see on my screen. It's hard to see on that screen. I think the rock names, for the most part, are in there. Yeah, the rock names are in there. All right, so I hopefully stopping you from starting, not at 9 o'clock maybe, but at 10 o'clock, so to speak. All right, some of you still managed to do that. And I wouldn't have noticed that had I not noticed that it wasn't giving partial credit. It was doing all or nothing. And I noticed this only about halfway through when I was grading, because most of you got this right, but when you got it wrong, you got it either half to fully wrong, okay? So I was scrolling through somebody's, and I noticed some black and then some red and then some black again. So it caught my eye because I was just scrolling through to the definition question, to the definition of a rock. Or no, actually mineral. Have we missed definition of a mineral? Oh, it's right there. All right, I'll go back to that in a minute. So it caught my eye, and then I realized that person got a 0 out of 7 or whatever it was instead of a 3 out of 7 or a 4 out of 7. So I'm like, oh, crap, I got to go back and do this. And I caught a few more after. My point being, okay, if after class today at some point, you guys and you folks at home too, I did correct it before most of the online folks took this test. But for you guys, I didn't catch it in time. Go back through and make sure you got partial credit. If you did miss 1 or 2 of these, okay, make sure you got something out of 7 and not a 0 out of 7. Send me an email. I'll look at your test. We'll get you some points back. I think I caught them all, but you never know. You never know. So, anyhow, so what we've got here is you got igneous rock. So what do you have to do in order to make an igneous rock? You have to cool and crystallize, right? And we're also missing a B there. What are you going to cool and what are you going to crystallize? You're going to cool and crystallize magma or lava. So AB was magma or lava. AC is cooling and crystallization. So we got igneous rock, then we have 3 skips, and then you've got sedimentary rock. So you're thinking, okay, I got to make a sedimentary rock. What do we make sedimentary rocks out of? We make sediment. And you left that little gravelly stuff there in B. So hopefully you remembered B was sediment. So the question then becomes, all right, how do we turn igneous rock into sediment? Well, that's where weathering and erosion goes. A. Then we got to turn sediment into a sedimentary rock. That's what the arrow for C is asking you. Compaction and cementation. You follow? All right. So would it have been, let me ask you guys, would it have been easier if I removed igneous rock, for example, and gave you AB instead, gave you magma and lava? Would it have changed anything in your minds? I see a handful of no's. Okay. So I wanted you to have some placeholders, but I didn't want to give away the whole kit and caboodle either. So, all right. Well, anywho, so do check on those, please. I'm not sure why this is flipping out on us. All right, so going back a question, scrolled right past it there. Definition of a mineral. All right. I was looking for 4 things. What is one of the 4 things I was looking for? Naturally occurring. Somebody else. What else? Inorganic. Excellent. 2 more things. Somebody else. Somebody from this side of the room against the wall over here. What's left? Come on, most of you got this right. Fixed what? Somebody help her out. Fixed. Cats? No. Yeah, chemical and physical composition, fixed structure, sure. All right, and I forget which one we're missing. What are we missing? Anybody? That's rock. Aggregates, rock. Naturally occurring, inorganic, crystalline. Thank you. Crystalline. All right, so those are the 4 things I was looking for. And I put those 4 things into the answer thing. I thought it was going to actually grade this for me. I don't know what the heck it was looking for, but it didn't do a dang thing. So these I went through. Somebody already did catch one. He says, I didn't see that. Your test is corrected. Remember I told you guys to look for, and I put it in the announcement. I hope you guys, I know the online folks read announcements. I don't know about you guys here. But look and see if there's your test has been corrected note on your test. That doesn't guarantee the rock cycle one is right, as I said, because I missed that. But that does mean I looked at your definitions. Okay, and I tried to give partial credit where I could. And had I not said, please don't write composed of 1 or more elements, had I not said that like 4 or 5 times, I would have given you some points for that one. And I might have even still given you 1, but I don't think I did. But, if you had natural and fixed, I would have given you 2 points, for example. Okay? So partial credit is wonderful. So, at the very least, you're not going to see these again, but any of your classes, at the very least, write down everything and anything you know about it and hope that some of it flies. My colleagues might, hate me for saying that. But if they give you partial credit, just dump, okay? They'll find something in there, hopefully, to give you a point or 2 for. So, yeah. Next page. Smiley Face Rock did make an appearance, but I did not have a question for it. So what's A, you guys? The brick is limestone. Good. This one we were about 50-50 on. Some of you remembered these, some of you didn't. I'm not sure why. The dots. Sandstone. The dashes. Shale. And what is supposed to be asterisks or little stars. Igneous, okay? So, again, this one did do full credit. This one did do partial credit. It graded it correctly. But like I said, why the other one wasn't, I don't know. I did figure out how to fix it, though. When we imported the tests from Blackboard to this, I'm actually surprised and impressed at how well it did read everything. So if there's only 1 or 2 mess-ups here or there, I shouldn't be too upset. But It's odd. It's random. All right, so the next question was definition of a rock. All right, and for this one, we were looking for naturally occurring again. I think naturally formed was fine as well. Natural is the important part. Inorganic or organic, and that was the big one. And some of you just remembered the organic part. And depending on what you wrote, I may or may not have given you credit for that one. If you had everything else right, I might have taken a point off, because we do still have inorganic rocks out there. All right, all of the igneous, for example. Again, I tried to grade these as humanely as possible. This one was only a 3-pointer as opposed to a 4-pointer. So naturally occurring consolidated aggregate of inorganic or organic material, rock fragments, mineral grains, something along those lines is what I was looking for. All right, type of rock you could form. So some rock questions here. Very generic intro stuff. Type of rock you could form if you lithify broken pieces of previously existing rocks lying around at the surface of the earth. What do we got? Sedimentary, yes. I think this is not a process that can happen. Oh boy. All right, the type of rock you could form if you expose an existing rock to extremely high temperatures and pressures. Metamorphical, good. And magma or lava cools and crystallizes. Yeah, hopefully these were all, free points for you guys here. Now, we will get in depth into metamorphics and have, a handful of questions on those. We will get way in depth on sedimentary and have a whole bunch of questions about those. And igneous, well, you already saw igneous, so it's coming up. Process that breaks down materials at the surface of the earth, weathering or erosion. Which one? Weathering breaks down. Transports that weathered stuff, erosion. Those will show up again. If you missed them this time, you got another chance on the sedimentary test, because we take a whole lecture for weathering and erosion. Okay? You'll be sick and tired of weathering and erosion. And there's usually another question in here that says, what do we call those broken down weathered products? And that would have been sediment. All right, you see that word here. So that probably, I saved that for the next test. All right, now we're on to igneous. Molten mineral material at the surface of the earth, lava or magma. Lava at the surface, beautiful. Molten mineral material inside the earth, magma, good. Half of you have had Igneous Rocks Lab just yesterday. The other half of you will have it on Monday. By the way, all of Wednesday Lab thought you guys were crazy for wanting to have not have a week off in between. We could talk about that after class today. If you guys still want to have the mineral test on Monday, we can do that. But I recommend going to Igneous Rocks, and I think Wednesday Lab recommends that you go to Igneous Rocks as well. But it's your guys' choice. Okay, so some of you get confused here that I'm asking you the same question like 3 times. I'm not. I'm really just trying to drive home a point. And I told you guys in lecture, I really want you to understand the difference between, not the difference, the interconnectedness between lava, surface, and extrusive, between magma, interior, intrusive. And so I ask you all 6 of those questions. But if you're reading it fast, you're in test mode, you're kind of in a hurry, you're nervous, whatever, it might seem like, wait a minute, he just asked me the same. It's different side of the same idea. So, anywho. So we just asked you if it's lava or magma. Now we're asking you what kind of rock you would get. So lava makes which kind? Extrusive igneous. Good. Magma makes intrusive igneous. And if you still hadn't got the point, the difference between intrusive and extrusive rocks is where they grow, where they crystallize, where they form. Yeah. What happened was a ways back, And this is the next question here. Okay, difference between felsic and mafic. Which answer is right for this one? What they're composed of, their chemistry, right? So, however I was teaching this in the past, not everyone, but a few folks were making it through this, not really understanding the difference between chemistry and grain size, for lack of a better word, texture, all right? Where they cooled versus what they were made out of. And the felsic was getting mixed up with extrusive. I don't know what I did to promote that, but so I've been trying to teach it differently. These questions are a function of that, and it does seem for the most part that I've been making my point clear. But yeah, so we're just kind of making sure you know that without getting into the chemistry too deep. And speaking of the chemistry, we got one here. Oh, there's the other ones, the grain size ones. Those are, I got a Bowen's reaction in the middle here. They got jumbled a little bit. So yeah, there should have been 2 more questions about the intrusive, extrusive stuff. So we'll pause with Bowen's, and what do we got here? Quite possibly. Magma or lava, certain minerals will start to crystal. Huh? All right, let me see. Let me make sure. It's a lot of words, so I don't have this one memorized. Magma or lava, certain minerals will start to crystallize before other minerals. True. Magma or lava, you have a fixed amount of elemental ingredients. If you use them up, you may not be able to form certain minerals. True. These processes always occur in a predictable process. True. So yes. Good job. All the above. All right. So next, the grain size stuff, going back to intrusive, extrusive magma lava. Grain size associated with igneous rocks that cool inside the earth. In other words, intrusive igneous rocks have what crystal size? Coarse, fine, mixed, or medium? Coarse. Of course. Yeah, big. Igneous rocks that cool at the surface of the earth. Fine. They cool much quicker. They don't have a lot of chance to grow. And the mixed one, porphyritic, as we came to call them. Is it mixed or medium? Mixed. Yeah. All right. All right, hurricane stuff. And yikes, I didn't have a chance to look at the reports or anything like that.
Yeah, I heard like some reports on Florida.
Yeah, I know Milton ended up coming in at a 3, I think.
Yeah, that's the name of the hurricane, right?
Yes. And supposedly, I know you guys are all worried about Disney World. I think it was down to a 1 by the time it got there. But yeah, that's not good. I think it did hit a different part of Florida, kind of better that way. But hopefully we're done for the year. All right, so hurricane questions. Tropical storms and hurricanes are recognized by their appearance, which is a comma-shaped cloud system twirling around a blank pressure center. Swirling might have been better. I don't know. A little ballerina picture there in your head. Yeah, low. Okay, we got that low in the center. That's what I was going for. What do you need to make a hurricane? All the above. Yeah, and that should probably say high water temperatures. But high atmospheric humidity and low upper level winds. Huh? I know, but nonetheless. But yeah, you need all of those. All right, what's the correct ordering of stages? Because I know I tell you not to say letters, but which one is that? Yeah, B, thunderstorms. So B. And the only one that starts with thunderstorms, so. I don't know why D just got highlighted there. Which of these makes it a hurricane? 74, yeah. And when do we name it? Storm, yeah. Tropical storm. All right, northern hemisphere. Which way do they rotate? Counterclockwise. I didn't see anyone doing that with their fingers, but when you got to do, you got to do. I still, whenever I have to do the scientific notation, I still have to count with my fingers, with moving the decimal over. Whatever works. All right. Saffir-Simpson scale. That's the rating. Yeah, 1 to 5. Which one is bad? Cat 3. So they got hit by an officially a bad one. Didn't have to tell them that, but way better than 5, and which they were concerned about for a little while. Then it went down to 4. Thank goodness it hit a 3. But you notice as it slowed down, it started to fall apart. So it got wider, and so there was actually more area affected, but it was with lower winds, etc. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. So what's the high, the calmest part? The eye. Good. What's the worst? Eye wall. All right. Oh my gosh, someone emailed me about this.
Yeah, you were able to move it if you dragged to the side. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I found that out.
I can't believe it doesn't automatically.
There's a bar better than
Oh, there is a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. That sucks.
Yeah, it was a little.
How many of you lost points because you couldn't? Only one person out of 45 emailed me about it. So, and there were like 6 of you sitting here Tuesday morning. Nobody said anything except one person. I will try to make that graphic smaller for the upcoming. Yeah, just accidentally as I moved over it scrolled. And she's like, I can only see half the diagram. I'm like, don't worry, I'll fix it for you. But, so anywho, what do we got right here? The eye over here, eye wall, and these streamers off the sides, rain bands. Good. Looking at half the hurricane again. What hemisphere is this in? Northern, yeah. All right, you guys. So, yeah, it could be if I was a jerk. You just know I'm not a jerk, right? You like to think I'm not a jerk. Yeah, I could totally have made that an application level question, right? And it made you think. But, so again, hopefully this wasn't abysmal for you. I don't have to tell you the grades. I will, but D2L puts a little letter grade next to it automatically anyhow. 45 to 50 is an A, so you can miss 5 for an A, 10 for a B, 15 for a C. Again, that's why I like to have 50-point tests. It makes it nice and easy for math. So, and the same is true for that mineral practical I keep talking about. Okay, it's a 50-point test, so you got a little leeway. Of course, we want you coming in knowing everything, but if you do mess a couple up, you could mess up 10 blanks and still get a B. So, don't get too stressed out about it. I want you to study, but don't freak out. All right, so any questions about this test? All right, and you folks at home, if you have questions, concerns, again, on the rock cycle, if you didn't get partial credit and you were supposed to on either the definitions. Actually, I haven't even gone through your guys' definitions yet. If you're listening to this review, I have not corrected your test yet. I will.